To begin our conversation in consciousness today and our energy update, I think the first concept I want to talk about that many people, not only in our community, but I'm seeing this happen globally right now, are growing through this level of cognitive dissonance, but also spiritual disconnection. And it's like the things that were giving them those highs, the pieces that were, giving people the ability to feel like they were a part of a movement or something. It's like all of those realities are crumbling right now and leaving us really raw and feeling isolated. And I know, Violet, you've been going through a level of this the last 2 weeks too. And we don't have to go into extreme detail, but I think because it's so raw in your field, it might be helpful to kind of explain some of the emotions maybe that have been coming up behind it.
So what I've been seeing is almost two sides of this, and actually three, because there are some people who are not being affected by this at all, and they're just like totally in alignment and everything is working great. So if this isn't your situation, don't make it yours. You don't need to be in a fog, just continue on your merry way. But for the other two sides that I'm seeing is some people are almost like, it's like your intuition is turned off and you're just very human right now. So you're going through the motions, you're going to work, you're running errands, you're dealing with your kids, but there's not really any intuitive information coming in. So I've seen some people that are dealing with that. And there's almost like a level of apathy to what's going on kind of in the world right now. It's like we're just so disconnected from everything. And it might also be because COVID has been going on for about a year. And people are just kind of getting tired of it. So that was one kind of aspect I've been seeing. And then the other one is what I've been personally going through is this feeling of just being completely disconnected from the people in my life and from my own mission. And it's like, I know it's there, but it's almost like the bridge between me and it has disintegrated a little bit. And there's this kind of feeling of just being alone and not having the support I need to move forward. And some of that is my own stuff, but that's kind of the feeling. It's almost spun me into a few times some false targeting, some false meaning, some false realities around, that victim energy of like, this is happening to me and I don't have what it takes to deal with it. So that's kind of what I've been working through. And I'm probably not the only one.
So many people in the chat are already saying, yeah, that's me. I don't like it. Isolation, depression, like so many feelings coming up about this. So what was really interesting is Violet and I were processing this a little bit out loud yesterday. And normally on a friend level, like I really check in when I'm working, especially with people that I'm really close to, like, what do they need right now? Do they need me to go into Coach Caitlin mode? Do they need me to just be their friend and hear them? Do they need a steel-toed boot in the ass? Like, what does this person require? And as I was tracking in, what was super interesting in Vi's situation, and I don't know if this is relatable for all of you, when I got down to the core root of what was going on, it was her human reality that wasn't being taken care of, not her spiritual. And because that had kind of been taken out at the knees, like everything from, her eating schedules to her sleep schedules, to seeing her spouse schedules, to boundaries with work schedules, all of that and the choices she had to make were actually disconnected on that physical human level. And so it was overriding and false targeting onto her spiritual and connected level.
Yeah, I've had a really hard time bringing in intuitive hits and awarenesses through this process. And what I've realized is when our human level isn't taken care of, we can't access those higher realms, like that bigger, wider information frequencies. It's really challenging. It's not that I have to just work for it really hard right now, which tells me that there's something off.
Yeah. And so I think so many times, you guys, we go in and people ask me, they're like, there's got to be something else to clean up. There's got to be something else I can clear. What am I missing here? What am I not seeing? And I'm like, how are you eating? How are you sleeping? How are you being held? How are you looking after your body? How are you moving? Right? And when they can't fill in all those gaps confidently and with ease, I'm like, okay, well, we can't do anything until we look after your human first, because this avatar, this body, I can't get to those other lenses. I can't get to that information with you, for you, yes, but with you, no, until we look after this temple right here. And so I want to really drive home a couple of points, you guys. The awakening process leaves no part of the human behind. not the physical body, not the emotional body, not your mental processing, ego thinking body, not the spiritual body. It all has to go together. And if it all isn't together, something falls apart. And the part that usually goes first is our mental body, because we start attaching meaning and stories and false realities and targeting to the experience we're having, because we can't necessarily feel all of the different aspects that are going on around us. And so it becomes easiest to start tracking into things that aren't even the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Does that kind of make sense?
It creates like an emotional mental tornado.
Yes.
In my field, probably other people's too, where it's just like, I'm just looking for, it's not that I'm looking for the blame, I'm looking for the cause, but in the process, I'm just blaming.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not actually getting to the root. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, like, Violet, if you had not had somebody like me as your boss yesterday, and you know, the last couple of things you've been processing, where would you have spun out to? Right? Like, because I can hold space like a ninja.
That was the thing. And that was one of the main things that I brought up to you, Caitlin, too, was I was like, I feel like I don't have anybody to talk to about this in this moment.
Yeah.
And so I did talk to Kelly earlier. She's one of our moderators, one of our mentors in the group, and she's one of my good friends. And I talked to Caitlin. And other than that, I was like, I feel like I have nobody. And in the process, I was like, I know that that's not true, but that's what I feel like right now.
And when you said, I feel like I have nobody, what I heard you say is there's nobody physically around me, like in my current reality outside of this little work family, that sees me, knows me, loves me, can hold me, and is able to hold space like a boss. Will I unravel this without adding their shit to my pile? That's what I heard you say.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah. And I also was feeling like in that moment that if I brought that stuff to the couple of you that I can talk to, it would be too much and it would be overwhelming and it would be unfair to you guys. So I was in this space where I had created this situation where I felt like I had no options other than to just internally process, and that wasn't getting me anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then let's talk about that internal process, because that's what actually created the fog.
Yep.
Right? That's what creates the fog, is that place where we are constantly going between this linear thinking where we're trying to fill up all of these gaps, right, of what we're trying to make sense of, to the part where we're trying to make sense of the emotions and the things we're feeling, but then the emotions override the thoughts and start to distort the thoughts, and then the distorted thoughts start to layer on a different layer of emotions, and then the different layer of emotions build on another false reality of thoughts. Can you guys see the problem here?
That's literally what I was doing,
right,
especially over the weekend. And I was witnessing myself do it, but I was like, I can't deal with this on my own right now.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And a lot of us are not in situations where our partners can handle this, or even our best real life friends, or, you know, anybody else in our family. And so we start to go, well, where can I turn? Because a lot of times we feel like we can't go to the healer or the counselor until, you know, we figured out it's actually a healing problem or whatever it is. But I will tell you, majority of the sessions I do, you know what it is? It's life coaching. Mm-hmm. And anybody who's at a session with me, they get annoyed with me a lot. I will tell you, when people come to sessions with me, they're like, what kind of alien am I? What's my mission? And I'm like, so are you sleeping? Because anything you're trying to access outside of what's not already working here is irrelevant. And I know that. And it's just going to frustrate you further when you feel like you're trying to reach for something that you can't grasp on your own. Right? And I think it's an absolute disservice that healers do to people by going beyond what that person can hold, or even just do a slight stretch to reach, because it drives them into a further depression of not being able to do it on their own. Mm-hmm. We always have to think relatable, achievable, right? And relevant to what they're going through in order to get them from here to there, especially when we first meet them. Mm-hmm. So you guys, I'm going to say to you that when you're in that state, there's a couple of really important things that one must do. One must always check in and go, okay, clearly my story and my emotions have changed so many times at this point that this is all a false reality now. Like, that's the first thing we have to do, is look at it all and be like, cool. So now that I've experienced that and it's a whole bunch of bull, I'm going to tear it all down and start again. Right? And then I go for a walk, I have a bath, I listen to a meditation, I eat some chocolate, I move my body, whatever it is. I do something to change the energy and then I come back to it. Because if you keep chasing, you're going to build further and further and further false realities and deepen that fog. And here's the second problem to this, you guys. When you deepen your fog, you also deepen everybody else's around you if they don't know how to hold space. It's a problem. So the skill I wish everybody would install right now is the instant you've watched yourself change and morph or say the words, I feel depressed, I feel anxious, I'm spiraling down, I'm tired, I'm cranky, I'm disconnected. By the time you say those words, you've already had so many thoughts and feelings go through your mind that you've already messed up the point of origin. Now, before you all have a pity party and shit on yourselves for not seeing the point of origin, stop right now and destroy and uncreate all of that. Okay.
I didn't see mine. I needed help.
Yeah. And she's been working with me for 4 years because you guys, you don't see your own stuff clearly. You don't, because you have so many bodies trying to work together that we often fight to self, right? So this is where you call in a helper, you ask for a pod, you ask for a perspective change, right?
And I booked a session. I actually booked a session with Kelly, and she's one of my good friends. And normally I would just talk to her. And because I knew when I checked in, I was like, what I need is someone to be totally focused on me for an hour so I can actually clear this. And I can't expect somebody to do that without me giving them a fair exchange. So that's what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is going to be really important, you guys, because this is the part of the pressure container we're in for the next part of spring. This is going to be about the next 3 to 4 weeks that we're going to be experiencing these up and downs with having the opportunity to really dive into the fog and get lost, or having the opportunity to call it, come back to self and do the quick little, okay, I recognize this is false, drop it all out, and then just move forward again. Now, I'm going to tell you something really crazy. Really crazy. Majority of the problems you guys are going to come up across in the month of April are all going to be related to your physical human.
Darn it.
Yeah, I know. This is going to piss people off because they're going to want to be like, the tech, the walk-ins, the cards, the contracts, my mom. No, it's going to be you, my loves. It's going to be your body, your house, your temple, your foundations. And so as you guys are going through this month, that's the first place I want you to look. Am I sleeping? Am I eating? Am I moving?
Right? And getting social interactions with other people.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. So those are the things for April I really want you guys to pay attention to. And I will try to remind you guys every single week to check back in, because I know that's really important for somebody to be like, hey, but I have to tell you, if you're going into your sessions or you're going into your tracking, you're going into your feelings and you're like, okay, there's got to be a galactic origin for this. It's got to be in my Akashic records. It's probably in the middle of your sandwich. Like, just being real, right? It's probably the fact that, you know, one day this week I sat in my bed completely all day, even though my body was saying, Caitlin, go for a walk. Caitlin, go for a walk, do your yoga. And it took me 12 hours before I moved my body and did my workout. Had I done that first thing, like my body had said, what would my day have felt like? Right? Yeah. So following through with body cues this month is going to be huge. And if you guys need some accountability, watch Flow Body once a week for the month of April. Okay. Watch
Find a friend, find a buddy in the group that you can just like check in with and be like, so like once a week or a couple of times a week, and be like, hey, how are things going? Have you moved this week? How are you eating? You know?
Yep. Absolutely. Find an accountability buddy if you want. So Michelle, if you weren't going to play the victim to that situation, what would you choose instead? Who would you actually talk to? Right? So you have to start changing your perspective, changing your thought forms, finding somewhere else to look and to create what you actually want to have. Jade wants to know if she can hate on me for this truth bomb. You can absolutely false target on me, but I'm going to hard mirror it back to you tenfold and let you hold that like a sweet little baby. So yeah, I know it's tough, you guys. And sometimes I feel like my job sucks in a way, because my job is to kind of be like the really smiley cheerleader, like, hey, I know things are shit, but deal with it, right? Like, I'm constantly like, hey, no, this isn't how you want to operate. Hey, no, this is what you need to shift. Like, I am constantly bringing these things to the surface, and I often feel like all I'm doing is kicking people's asses. But okay, how good at being accountable are we? So this leads me to my next conversation, which is spiritual passivity. Oh, okay. What do I mean by this?
Mm-hmm.
When people talk about spiritual passivity, they will say things to me like, I truth tested and this is what came out. And now I just need to wait for this thing to come to fruition.
Or
And
with
I'm like,
manifesting.
kind of, yeah. And they're like, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to sit here. I have to wait for this other person to make their decision before I make my decision.
Or for the universe to deliver it.
The universe definitely has to deliver it, because if I create it, like, that's bad. Because it means I'm going against my spiritual nature if I actually 0 point something and birth it all by myself, right? So spiritual passivity is this space where we sit in and we are trying to bypass our own creative ability, and we are not actually taking accountability for the choices we want to make, and we're leaving it in somebody else's hands, and sometimes continuing to play the victim to it. Oh, this one, okay, this one gets under me a little bit. Okay, I want to talk about this one. One of my biggest pet peeves. Somebody just said I'm like a velvet brick.
That is such an accurate description. Oh my goodness.
Like, I can say it with the most beautiful smile on my face. Whack. Anyways, scaling back. People will do things where they're like, I know I'm in a bad situation. I know I'm with a person that is dragging me down. I know I need to end this relationship, but I'm just going to stay here until I get an even bigger sign.
Or until they choose to leave.
Or until I get really hurt, or until they choose to leave, or something even worse happens to me than has already happened. And I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Right? Like, this is a problem, you guys. That is spiritual passivity, because one of the things you came here to do was to create your life. And by staying in scenarios that you don't like and you don't enjoy, or not creating the pathways out, this is the other part of it, because I get it. There are some scenarios that require us to make plans, to be thoughtful, to, have preparations in place to make sure we can land on our feet. That's cool. That's still taking action, right? That's creating. But when we sit passively and we're not doing anything to change our scenario, and we're like, the universe will tell me when it's time. I'm like,
it's already done that.
It's already done that. And now you're to the point where the universe is like hanging up the phone.
The fact that it's even in your awareness that it needs to change means it's already come into your field and the universe has already told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then by that point, it's way too late. And then by that point, the amount of cleanup work we have to help you do on the other side of it is so much worse than it would have been when you took the first, second, third, eighth, or 10th wake up call to get out. But most of us wait till the 20th or 30th or 100th before we actually make a choice. And so here's the next part I'm going to give you of this. It doesn't mean we necessarily become extremely reactive. Okay, because that's a whole new level of bypassing, right? Is not sitting in the discomfort of unknown. And so there are things, I mean, last week or on the weekend, it was Saturday when, I went on my little rant, right? And I'm like, you guys, don't post bullshit. Like, why are we here? Like, don't whine at me as to why your post didn't get approved. We've told you, don't use your damn control dramas. Don't pull on the group for this. Like, we've told you, like, if you want to whine about it, get out. Anyways, I could have gone extremely reactive, which would have been when I first saw all those events and the initial feelings that came up where I was really annoyed. I could have used those to fuel the video and the conversations I had, but instead I decompressed them and I looked at, where is this coming from? Why do I not feel heard? Why do I feel like people aren't hearing me on this? Why do I feel like people aren't understanding what I'm saying? Is this communication? Is this just how the universe is? I decompressed first and came to my space of understanding and the container I was building before I delivered the message and chose what I was going to do. And so what I'm going to say to you guys is, sometimes you have to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes before you take an action, right? But why wait? Well, let me tell you about the law of incubation. Violence like this just keeps going.
There's more.
This is why this all ties together. And then Vi and I can just kind of shoot the shit on this.
Yeah.
The law of incubation is essentially, in plain English, the space and time, our perception of time it takes for the ripple of the intention or the action that needs to unfold to actually manifest into our physical reality. And sometimes that law of incubation takes a little bit longer than we want it to. And so we will bypass the time it takes for the thing we want to come into our reality. So in the law of incubation, I might, for example, do a money magic ask. And might be like, hey, universe, what would it take for $20,000 to show up today as if by magic? And then I get to 6 p.m. tonight and I'll be like, universe, you didn't send me $20,000. So it means my manifestation isn't working. I'm broken. Something's wrong with me. I'm out of alignment. What's wrong with my juju? Is there a spiritual reason for this? Maybe it's a cord. Do I have a contract? Is there like some kind of spell on me?
Oh my goodness, you just created a whole problem.
Right? Like so bad. And so we end up creating and filling space because some of us are really impatient. This is okay. Violet and I are both guilty of this. I am totally guilty of this. Okay, let me know if you guys are like this. I love instant gratification. I love when I send things out and it's like, bing, here you go. And it's like handed on a silver platter. To me, it's like validation of my magic. But you know what's also validation of my magic? I put asks out in January of this year and they manifested last night. It took 4 months of incubation time. 3 and a bit. Does that mean my magic didn't work? No, it means that to get from that space to this space, there was a little bit of legwork and pieces that had to fall into play in order to bring that dream, that manifestation, the thing that I desired into my reality.
There might have also been some resonance fields that needed to clear before it could arrive.
Yeah.
So that's why crap comes up in your experience after you ask for something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, let's use this example because this ties into this. You asked for the integrator role in the company.
Yes. When did I do that? That was like,
I don't even know.
Probably like around January, because I was still figuring out in December. I remember I still wasn't sure. It was probably around January, February, definitely by the beginning of February. I was like,
yeah, you're like, that's mine. So you asked for the integrator role.
Yeah.
And March has been brutally uncomfortable for you.
It's been kicking my butt. I've cried multiple times. And I was thinking this the other day. I was like, I'm not a crier. And I was like, well, actually I used to be. And then I wasn't because trauma. And now I am again.
I think you've cried in every meeting we've had in the last 2 weeks.
It's been not fun, but
I know. Okay. So we could do a couple of things. Violet could go, I'm not worthy of this position. I can't handle it. That's a possibility because it's been uncomfortable.
Most people would do this, and I would have done this probably a year ago. I would have been like, I'm not cut out for this, clearly.
Right. She would have shut herself down. She would have gone, I don't have what it takes. I can't figure this out. Like all these, she would have tied false meaning to the experience she was having, which would have amplified the emotions, which would have then amplified and justified her story, which would have led to her taking herself out.
Well, and the reality would have shown, I would have manifested all of those things.
Yes.
Right. So I would have had examples coming up in my experience to show me that that was true, that I wasn't cut out to do it.
Mm-hmm. But you've had examples coming up since you took this, showing you that you could do it, but it's requiring a whole new level and devil of you, which is also uncomfortable because you don't understand it all yet.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Violet had a choice to either lean in, get uncomfortable, right? We've been talking about this for the last week and go, I don't care if I have to cry for 6 more meetings. This is my role. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be the best leader I possibly can be. And I'm going to serve my little heart out. Like, this is my mission. Mm-hmm. She has that choice. And that's what she's choosing. She's leaning in. But Violet, like even 2 years ago, even a year ago, actually, Violet a year ago would have looked at this and been done.
Mm-hmm. I would have said, it's a sign that I'm not supposed to do this.
Right?
Yeah.
So why is this coming up? It's coming up because the instant you guys say you desire something or you claim something is yours, everything that is in your field that cannot be there anymore must get out. all beliefs, all feelings, all fat, all of the storage in terms of records has to leave.
Everywhere that you are not currently in vibrational alignment with that has to move. There's a reason you don't already have it. So all that needs to clear out. That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything about you.
Right. It means you actually had the balls to ask for something that's a stretch. And now you got to have the grit and the grace to go and get it because it's yours. Right? Whoa.
Mm-hmm. But you have to set yourself up for success too. And that's really what I'm learning is my foundation needs to get cleaned up. My human level, taking care of my body, my mind, my emotions, my relationships, all of that needs to be in place for me to go to this next level, because you can't build an empire on shaky ground. It's just not possible. Yeah.
So let's talk about body override systems. Okay. Well, hold on before I go there. So if Violet had chosen to take herself out, that also would have been falling in the category of spiritual passivity, because she wouldn't have been taking the invitation so clearly to attack head on what has been coming up for her as she's gone into this new level, new devil of what she's taking on within the company.
Well, and my understanding previously was that with manifestation, it should be effortless.
Can we just destroy and uncreate that bullshit, toxic spiritual belief that goes around so many communities right now? Like everywhere we have plugged into this idea that manifestation and everything that we want should arrive to us with ease. Can we destroy and uncreate it all? Because to be honest with you, if the thing I want to have in my life means I have to up level and I have to get rid of some of the shit ways I've been operating, then bring it, because I'm constantly seeking to be a new, better version of me every single day.
Evolution isn't instantaneous and it's not pain-free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's talk about the body override systems. And Violet, I'm really thankful you're sharing your example, because so many people in the chat are so resonating with what you're sharing and what this conversation is about. And we knew it was going to be highly relevant for them today. And I think it's so important that, not only you and I are so visible and transparent with what's going on, but that people realize this is the way that you get yourself through. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So body override. Your body has been giving you signals for years. Yeah. Okay. But it's intensified in the last couple of months. So can you talk a little bit about that, what your body's been doing and what you've been ignoring?
Oh gosh, so much. I'm still personally having some, my communication with my body is not flawless, you guys. It's not. It's actually probably one of the areas that is the loudest for me and has been the most challenging. My body is constantly giving me information and I override it all the time. For instance, this morning I woke up, my lower back, my sacrum is way out, worse than it usually is. It's screaming at me and I'm still sitting in my chair. I mean, I'm here with you guys, but still I'm sitting in my chair like normal. And it's probably I haven't even checked in. It probably wants to be stretched or something, right? Or walked or moved or whatever. Yeah, lots of digestive stuff coming up, and I just keep doing what I'm doing with my food, right? It's just because I'm, and the story I'm telling is I'm overwhelmed with everything. I don't have time to deal with it. Lots of things. I mean, I've been fairly lucky. I haven't had a lot of headaches coming up besides when I was really crying a lot the other day. So not a lot of headache issues. I mean, I'm fairly in line in a lot of other ways that I think helps my body to support me, even though I'm not super taking care of it. But my sleep has been off. It affects my mood. It affects my interactions with the people that I care about, that I interact with on a daily basis. It affects my, capacity to connect with my guide team, with other entities. I know they're around. I'm just not communicating with any of them right now because I'm just shut down. Yeah, lots of ways that it's affecting my body. And I just keep plugging along because this is what I need to do and not really paying attention to it. And I know that needs to change, but that's been how I've been operating for a really long time.
So yesterday I give you a challenge.
Yes.
I changed Violet's work schedule on her because Violet's typical MO is to wake up, grab her cell phone, scroll through what's going on in work, answer all the messages, go in Healers Rising, check what all of our team is talking about. And then she'll get up, have herself breakfast, have coffee with her cat. And then she goes to work and she's there all day, and then she'll go get lunch. But then she comes back to her smartphone. Violet, can we just, this is like AA right now. You're addicted to Healers Rising. It's a thing, right? It's a thing. You're addicted to Healers Rising. And I gave her a challenge yesterday.
Yeah. So every time I take a break, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go have a lunch break. I take my phone with me and I scroll through and I answer all your guys' stuff, and I comment and I share my gifts with you. Like, my breaks are literally just me just checking in with the group.
And I'm like, Violet, but this is your job. So where is your boundaries for you time? So I gave her a challenge yesterday to actually take some you time. You know what she did? She took her damn phone with her. She sent some emails and some contracts to some new employees. She answered some of our staff. And then she comes back to me 15 minutes later and she's like, shit.
Fail.
And so the other thing we learned, you guys, is we don't necessarily realize where we are crossing our own boundaries that we thought we had kind of put in place. Like, we think we're so strong and resilient, we understand where our energy is extending, and we don't. And let me just, full disclosure, Violet is not the only one operating like this. Like, I literally live for what you guys are doing. And so oftentimes I'm like, okay, I'll just scroll one more time. What if somebody posted something really important before I go to bed? Just one more time. Okay, what if it's 6 a.m. and what did they put in the group? One more time. And so it's so easy for us, because we're pouring into something we really believe in, to sacrifice self.
That's the hardest part for me, because I know, like, this is my mission. This is what I'm here to do. And when I do it, I light up and I feel great. And I love being in the group and supporting you guys and making sure you have the tools you need, and, just being the cheerleader, all of it. And everything we're doing in this business is so in alignment with me that is why I'm having trouble with the boundaries, because I'm like, how do you put up boundaries with your mission and with your purpose?
So there's a very fine line, because as soon as the body comes out of alignment and is saying, I'm not feeling good, I'm heavy, I'm swollen, my tummy is off, I'm getting headaches, something's got to give, because it means we're out of balance with taking care of this human. So let's circle back to the disconnection of the body where we started today. Mm-hmm. So we got to this point where she's in alignment with her mission. She knows what she's supposed to be doing. It's uncomfortable. It's a group growth process, right? Because our whole team is up leveling in the container we're holding. Mm-hmm. And now we're circling back to, we've looked at the spiritual of it. We've looked at the emotional of it. We've looked at the logic of it, but you know who hasn't been answered yet? This. Mm-hmm. And so my homework to Violet yesterday was, you're going to get an answer for me on how you're going to feed yourself, what you're doing for your boundaries, and what's happening with your sleep, because this is bullshit and it's not happening anymore. Right? Coach Caitlin came out and I was like, clean it up.
Yeah.
And while I was saying it out this end to her, I'm like taking notes over here of where I'm being a shithead in my own life, and like, I'm going to curb my cell phone use. When I'm off, right?
That's the magic, though, of the sessions and the coaching. Like this, I don't know if other people know this. This is something that we teach and we tell our students in decodes. The magic is when you meet up with somebody that has codes for you and you have codes for them. That's that entangled hierarchy we've talked.
Oh no, she froze. Did she freeze for you guys?
Oh, can you hear me now?
I think you're back now. Yeah.
Okay, I will repeat that. So the magic is in the sessions, like the person who's the healer, they're not perfect. They don't have all the information for you and they're already perfect. They have codes for you and you have codes for them. And so it's super magical when we get our decode sessions together. Like, some of you guys have had these really amazing sessions with your decoders, and that's what's happening. Those healers got just as much from you as you got from them. And that's what we do, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about coming into communion with each other and seeing the mirrors and recognizing where each of us has something to give to the other person so that we can both grow.
Right. So here's what I would love for you guys to really look at this week. If I was going to give you a theme, I would love for you to look at your human and your environment and start with the most basic foundational needs that a physical body requires: your food, your water, your movement, and your sleep. And I can't tell you how many sessions out of the week I have to start with those 4 pillars. I would say it's 9 out of 10. Like, this is an area that humans severely lack in, and especially those of us on these spiritual journeys, because we sometimes get so detached from this while we're seeking that, whatever that is, that we forget that this is home. And we have to love it the way we want it to look and the way we want it to feel. We have to really support it and honor it. And that can be hard. Because McDonald's, Cadbury cream eggs, Peeps, whatever your thing is. But we have to start somewhere. So this week, you guys are coming back home, you're keeping it simple, and I want you to look at your routines in your bodies. How are you honoring your system? Where are you doing things that are not necessary in alignment? Where are you being too strict on yourself? Right? Because it can go to extremes too, where people are like, I'm not eating any of this, right? And we can put all these parameters on that actually don't bring us joy. We can put all these restrictions on that actually don't light us up and just put us in another cage. It's all about finding that nice flow state. So I want you guys to dance with that this week. Okay.
And I will be working with it alongside all of you. Yeah.
Yes. And movement. You guys are all in that: food, water, sleep, and movement. Those are our core pieces, right? So that's our focus. That's what we need to be working on. And so if you guys really would like a little physical project to work on your bedrooms. I would love for you to go stand at the doorway of your bedroom and look at the place where you sleep. And does it feel like somewhere you want to fall into, or somewhere you're like, ugh, I can't wait to get out of here in the morning? And see what you can do within your means to create it into your safe haven. Bedrooms, you guys, and here's a quick tip for those of you guys that want to be doing more Akashic Records work and dream states and astral travel in your sleep. If your bedroom is cluttered, you're screwed. Period. You need to have that oasis. So if you want a physical project to do some clearing in your home this week, that's where I would start, is that bedroom. Okay. If your bedroom is beautiful and you fall in, and like, I love my bedroom. I go in there and I'm just like, I feel like a queen. I love my kitchen, but if you walk into your kitchen, like, it's a disorganized mess, you hate it. And you also have a dissonance with food, because Violet, that's one of your things. Maybe the place you go stand is in your kitchen and you go, what do I need to do to create this into the haven that allows me to love my interactions with food and cooking and the way I nurture my body? Right? So that's your homework. That's what I want you guys to play with this week. Keep us posted. Let us know how this goes. No, I would not have mirrors in my bedroom. Get rid of those things. We can talk about that another day. Let's do that spring cleaning. Let's look after this temple first, because until this is being nurtured and it knows it's safe and it's loved and it's cared for, the rest of it is irrelevant. It's not going to matter, because you can't manifest out of a body that's not working. So we start here. All right, you guys, I'm sending really big hugs. Love you all. Keep us posted on your progress, and we will see you later this week.